Are you allowed to swear? Or is
Yeah.
that just pre-video?
No,
can do
you're
whatever.
you're allowed to swear. Maybe try not to use
No.
any C-bombs. We
No, I'm
swear.
not going to swear. You guys can.
Thank you,
Mum will get
Dan.
angry.
So we've got a very special guest here once again on TradeMutt's 120 Grit podcast, the podcast for the working class. He's the co-founder of Greyer Constructions. He's just been named in Queensland's top 20 under 40 entrepreneurs and the Prince of Paddington, Rob Gray. Welcome.
Thanks, boys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we've never had a prince in here.
We've had the King of Texas.
We've had the King of Texas.
Now we've got the Prince of Paddington.
Yeah, good.
It's only up from here. Mate, thanks for coming in to have a chat.
No worries.
First builder we've had on.
Really?
Yes. So it'll be great getting it out to our audience of hopefully young chippies out there and my mother that's listening, I'm sure. So it'll be great.
Our biggest fans.
Very nice. You guys are failed builders, aren't you?
Fail builders, mate. So
Yeah, this is it.
we've gone into the rag trade. We've gone from building houses to folding shirts.
Yeah, it's
Smart
quite
man.
it's quite a pivot.
Yeah, big pivot.
I think I should join you.
When's
Rob-
the last time you're on the tools?
Oh, mate, it's got to be about 5 years now. Oh, maybe 4 years, yeah. Mate, just had to give up. You know, the phone kept ringing and there was just so much to do in the office and it was just happened and, you know, didn't look back.
Time to transition.
Yep.
So you're a local Brizzy boy, you were saying?
Yeah, mate, I was born in Wesley Hospital, so I, living in Paddington at the moment, haven't gone far, one suburb across.
Lovely.
When are you going to redevelop the Wesley?
Oh, mate, one day. It's on the cards.
Put a tender in us this week. Mate, so you went to school out at Ipswich Grammar.
Yep.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah, jeez. And did you always want to do a trade? Is that what you...
Yeah, mate, to be honest, yeah, it was the plan from day one. Probably the reason, we were living in Chapel Hill at the time and Brisbane Grammar was actually our first option and my parents decided to send us to Ipswich Grammar because of their I was going to say martial arts, because of their, I don't know the word for it, but their, just their more trade background.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, manual arts.
Manual arts, that's
Yep.
the one I was looking for.
Yeah. Now, cool. Yeah, sweet. So you enjoyed 5 years out there.
Yep.
Chipping away.
Chipping away.
Nice. And then you went straight into a carpentry apprenticeship, did you?
Yep. So basically, schoolies, came home, started an apprenticeship. My first apprenticeship actually didn't go that well. After about 4 months, I had a best mate of mine in school that had another apprenticeship through a friend's dad, and he was loving his. I wasn't loving mine. I then approached his builder and said, "Hey, take on both of us as your apprentice." He goes, "Yeah, no worries." Thankfully, he did. Really enjoyed my apprenticeship. We worked together with my best mate, both going through our apprenticeship at the same time, which was awesome. Even better than that, the guys that were teaching me to be a chippy and who was in my gang when I was apprentice now work for Greyer, which is awesome and which gave Greyer a massive leg up from day one.
Yeah.
So that really helped. And yeah, while I was doing my apprenticeship, I was actually doing my builder's license studies too. So
Yeah, wow, you're hooking right in.
That's a massive move, doing your builders while you're an apprentice.
yeah, so it was always the goal. Like I love being a chippy, but I just knew it wasn't a long-term play. I knew it couldn't get you too far or only so far. So my passion was always in building and managing. I love dealing with people. Even though I loved being on the tools, I didn't like the wear and tear on the body and how hard you had to work. So yeah, that was always my direction.
So what was the part in the first apprenticeship that wasn't working? Was it the boss or the...
It was a carpentry apprenticeship, right?
It was a carpentry
yeah.
apprenticeship. It was a family friend business. They were really, really good carpenters, but they were a family. And it just wasn't gelling that right. They would do maybe one project a year, and it was a bit more renovation business, and it was a bit slow going for me. Like the company I did go with was more of a kind of a projecty type builder. They definitely weren't high end, but they weren't too projecty. They were okay, I guess. And yeah, I learnt how to. I saw more work getting turned over, and I liked that. There was more action.
More to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
You're hungry
Hungry.
for a bit of action.
That's it.
That's what you want.
So did you finish your builders while you were still an apprentice?
No, I couldn't. I finished the studies, but I couldn't apply because you need experience. As managing experience. So I think it was 6 months after I finished my apprenticeship. I think you needed a couple years management experience.
People normally just fudge those paperwork, so don't they, or what?
They did, but I didn't. No, but
Well played.
I did put it in 6 months after I finished my apprenticeship, and I think they asked for like 2 or 3 references. I think I gave like 10, but I actually got it, and it was the low-rise, lowest class license you can possibly get. So I think you can only turn over like 200K a year or something like that. So it's pretty piss weak, but
It's a start.
It's a start, and it grew from there. But yeah, I was doing decks and bathrooms and crap like that for ages. And I think in Chapel Hill there's a street where I think I built or renovated about 6 houses in a row because I just went from neighbour to neighbour to neighbour, and just wanting to help
awesome.
them.
How long ago was that?
Mate, probably it wouldn't be that long ago. I reckon it'd be 7 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
Bloody hell. Yeah, that's awesome.
So you've grown super quick.
thank you.
Really, 7 years. That's not that long. Are those decks still standing?
They are, mate.
Bloody oath.
Yeah, best decks in Brisbane.
Shot him down with a coil gun. Mate, what was some of the biggest lessons you learnt through your apprenticeship? What was some of the key takeaways?
Treat people well. Your team around you is more important than you, and if you can get a good team around you, that's what's going to take you far. And look after everyone and find out what their interests are and where they're trying to go. And as an employer, help them do that. And if you're helping everyone's working as a team, everyone's getting what they want, it's going to be a good unit, and you're going to move forward quickly.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So when you finished when you gone from your apprenticeship to becoming a builder, I think it's a pretty big move. You got to have a lot of confidence. You got to back yourself quite a bit to just go from at such an early stage to take on those, that sort of role.
And straight out of your time.
Straight out of your time, yeah. I mean,
you're learning as you go, 100%. And
yeah,
it's you just got to have a crack. I think. What do you got to lose? Yes, there is some legal implications for sure, but you don't know unless you try. And in the industry, there's no one really there to show you how to do it. So you do have to learn yourself and just throw yourself in the deep end.
It's like us, mate. I didn't know how to fold a shirt 12 months ago.
And you still can't.
So, yeah, wow. I just had a question. It's just gone straight out of my head because I was thinking of folding shirts.
So I'll jump in here.
No, I was going to say, sorry, in that early period, you must have had some fuck-ups.
Oh, heaps. Yeah, I had some hard clients too, and I think the overall game plan was just to make sure every client's happy at all costs. I think I'm a bit of a people pleaser, and some people say that's a negative thing to have, but I think it's a positive. Maybe a little not as bad these days, but yeah, making sure that everyone's happy. And sometimes I make mistakes. You just got to own up to it, fix it, do it right, be honest. Don't try and cover up your mistakes. Don't try and justify why it happened. Just fix it. People respect you because of that. And if you have a few backward steps, that's just life. That's just what happens. And as long as you keep moving past them and you back yourself, you'll be right.
Well, that's the whole thing is that, your reference is from your previous client, and especially in Brisbane, everyone's a big country town, everyone talks.
Yeah.
Reputation is everything.
Yeah, your reputation's everything. Yeah. So, yeah, it's such an important part of it. But again, like you said, people pleasing, is that sort of figuring out when to say no? Was that a hard thing to figure out?
I'm horrible at saying no. Still am.
Hard, yeah.
Still am, yeah.
We found that too. It's a tough one.
But you're right. You're 100% right. I think it's a real important lesson. You do make mistakes. I made heaps of mistakes, but it's just far easier to be out with it straight away.
Yep.
Or open, transparent, honest. And if you're truly apologetic about a stuff up, it's hard for someone else to be angry at you, right?
Yeah, it's how you deal with it.
Yeah.
And there's so many moving parts in being a builder or a chippy. There's going to be mistakes every day, and they're going to be major ones. It's just what happens. So it's just that's the industry we're in.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about Greyer itself.
Yep.
It's probably, looking from the outside in, it's probably the biggest residential building business in Brizzy, if not bloody Australia. It's massive. You've got a huge following on Instagram. It's like 40,000 followers or something.
Something like that.
It's incredible.
Is that right? Have you lost count?
55.
Yeah.
Mate, it's amazing.
And mate, you really undersold him there.
Sorry.
Jeez.
Well, guys, get on there and follow him, bump him up to 55. No, probably you're the first one that we can see that it's really captured, like we were saying before, like a 21st century builder. Like you've really capitalised on the social media and that marketing and getting your brand out there rather than just having site signs up. If someone drives past, 8 Kingfisher Avenue down the road, like everyone can sort of see what you're up to. Was it hard to build that brand online? Was it a difficult thing to do?
Oh, don't say it was difficult, but it was a lot of work over many years. But I think just having a bit of passion for marketing and being vigilant about how people market different businesses. It might not have been construction, but I saw other people's businesses and how they were marketing it and applying that to construction. And I think early days I felt the power of social media and having a good brand and online presence. Obviously, it's your baby, so you want to present yourself well. So it started as that, and once you started getting a bit more traction, then you basically invest more money into it, and that return comes around full circle. So to today, where I'm collaborating with a lot of brands, a lot of our suppliers, and I'm getting some free products, and I'm instead of pocketing that money, and I'm putting that back into marketing, which is then getting me more clients. It's selling houses for more money than they're worth, and it's an ongoing cycle. But yeah, you got to invest a lot of time and effort into it. I still do it all, and it's super hard when you're trying to run 10 houses and you're planning for another 10 next year. It's tricky.
That's incredible.
When you say that all that marketing brings you in more clients, we was talking before, you've probably got the capacity for about 10 jobs a year.
Yep.
Right? I'd imagine right now your marketing is kind of out the door because your reputation would precede that.
Correct.
You can see your banners absolutely everywhere. You drive through Paddington, and it's easy to see your presence, right?
Yep.
I'd imagine you have quite a big lineup now of people who want you.
Definitely, but even though you get 10, 20 phone calls a week, they're not always the jobs that we want to build. So we have a niche market where we want to build homes from $1 million to $2 million. So we don't want a $3 million house. We don't want a $900,000 house. That's our window. So a lot of people can get crossed out just by that price bracket. Then I'm looking for people that are near where our office is in Paddington, and then you've got this big tick sheet, and you can narrow that down quite quickly. But in saying that, there is still a surplus of clients. The idea behind the marketing isn't so much that I'm going to get heaps and heaps and heaps of clients. I'm just after the good ones. So just narrowing down. If I only have space for 3 or 4 a year, because predominantly our work is houses that we buy, sell, and flip. So if I've only got 3 to 4 spots a year, just finding the best people that I would like to work with, the houses that we want to build with, and that helps give you that go forward, because you're building with nice people. It's a cool house. You're already friends with them, or you get on really well, and then you have successes, and then you roll that into the next project, and you've got happy clients, and your reputation and your brand grows, and it's just a snowball effect. I think we were talking about earlier. A lot of builders finish their build quite negatively, and clients aren't happy with the result, and that is like
a worst case scenario.
That is like the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah.
Do everything to avoid that.
And I guess the other thing is that everything you see on social media and what you guys put out, you're proud of it. It's your pride and joy, and you want people to see it. And I think, embracing that and showing a bit of pride in your work is a real reflection of the quality that you like to produce, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things. So, I guess embracing this social media drive around, promoting small business or medium to big business in your case, it's really important.
Oh, we're super lucky. Our work is been able to be viewed so nicely, and it looks good on social media. I feel sorry for some companies that have to try and market accounting or something like that.
Oh yeah,
it's quite hard.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because again, like looking at your social media, it's sort of it looks like you're sort of marketing it to housewives to a degree, so they can be like, I'm living in a grayer house and I've got the fancy pool.
Well, they're the ones that make all the decisions, aren't they?
Yeah, that's it. It's creating a brand. So instead of buying this house, you want the price to go up because of who's built it and the brand behind it. Like a YSL bag compared to Michael Kors bag, whatever. Probably not the best example, but they're the same bag, but it's just one's got a brand. And one's
you
10
know
times
your
the price.
handbags. Wow.
Missus has been onto you, mate.
We're not talking about nail bags. We've got handbags.
A DeWalt bag and a Buckaroo bag.
That was the worst example. Sorry.
No, it's a perfect example.
So, again, like we were talking again outside about how good chippies don't always necessarily make the best business owners, and I mean it's incredible to think that you've created a building company, but you're not thinking like a building company where you really niche. You put yourself in a niche market where a lot of guys out there will just take any job they can get. How important was it for you to find your niche and really nail down in that one area?
It was super important. It was the only way of standing out and growing quickly is not having competition and being different. And there was a massive gap I found between project builders and architectural homes. And when we first kind of started building full homes, we fit in that bracket of an architectural looking home, but we weren't the same price. Now we would be the same price, but that was the niche market that we sat in, and there was so many clients in that bracket, because to be in that bracket, you had to have a good eye, you had to be young and keen, because your price weren't so too expensive, your overheads had to be small. So if any builders listening can get in that niche bracket, there's so many clients in that gap that will just give you so much work, and you can ride that wave for 3-4 years until you get too popular, and then you'll probably be the same price all the expensive builders.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And if you look at the area where we're talking, there's Paddington, Barton, all that sort of area, there's plenty of houses there that are still to be done up, right?
So many.
Yeah.
Gonna ride that wave.
Yeah.
That must be a good feeling.
Yeah. You were talking about the team that you have around you, and if you're sort of looking for these houses in that $1 to $2 million price bracket, we're also talking engineers and architects and all that sort of stuff. Have you got a team of, preferred architects that you just work with, across?
Yeah. I wear a number of hats. Like we're talking earlier about marketing, but yeah, for sure. Like the more important hats is, I've got a development hat where we've got a whole bunch of consultants pre-construction, and that team being the best possible team, that working together is super powerful, because we can get on site quicker and for a cheaper cost. And we do a lot of that in-house for clients. So we have a design and construct. We offer that to clients. And we like to control that process, because we know what we're building and we know how long it's going to take. We know when we're going to be on site. Sometimes when you let a client look after that pre-construction work, or an outside architect you haven't worked with, sometimes they tell you, yep, we're trying to build ASAP. We'll be building next month, and you've planned all your business around this month's start date, and then it happens in 6 months' time because their approvals got held up or something. Like when you control that process and you have that good team in the pre-construction work, like that is gold, and it's crucial to our formula, that's for sure.
There's so many bloody variables too, isn't there? Right?
Yeah, it's tricky, and it's a moving goalpost as well.
Yeah.
Mate, so talking about, you and your brother are the face of the business, really.
Yep.
There was a lot of vulnerability in that, I suppose, putting yourself out there for people to...
I think at the start it was a no-brainer just to try and get ahead. I don't know if you've noticed, but kind of in the last year to 6 months, we've kind of taken a bit of a backward step, and we're trying to push the Grayer brand as being kind of like the forefront, opposed to Rob and Andrew.
Yeah.
We feel like we kind of got those eyes by putting our faces on it, and then now we're kind of just trying to slowly backpedal. Like we don't want to remove ourselves from it, that's for sure, and I'm here today. But yeah, I think it's important that the brand does the talking, opposed to just Rob and Andrew, because it's not just it's me or Andrew doing the work. There's 30 staff that are doing all this work, and they're working as hard, if not harder than us. So having the brand do that speaking, and for long-term growth of a business, and one day it's hopefully worth something to resell or whatever it is. I think it's important that it's the brand and not just the person.
Yeah, but I guess to get ahead in those early days, you've really got to back yourself 100%, put your face right behind it. I mean, it's a bit like
what we've sort of done.
Us two bloody idiots who can't hide behind any of this, We're right out there. But you got to be, and it allows people to relate to you a bit easier, right?
Sure,
and
it's the best way to start, isn't it?
Yeah. What's your brother's background, Andrew?
So my father was a quantity surveyor, which is a high-rise estimator, basically. And Andrew followed his footsteps early days and went to uni as a quantity surveyor. He didn't like it. It was just a whole bunch of numbers and in an office, and it just wasn't enjoyable for him. And then we started doing the developments, and then he quit his job. He was a director of that company, and he gave up a pretty decent salary to basically have zero salary and do his own hustle.
Yeah, wow.
Awesome.
So you've got the right, even just in the family, you've got the right pieces of the puzzle there to to do some good work together. What's it like working with your brother? Honestly, how much do you blue?
To be honest, I love working with him. Like, we have massively different opinions in everything, but I see that as a good thing as well, because it's another perspective. If we thought exactly the same way, it would be good, but we'd just be going in the same direction. But we're always sort of second guessing each other, and yes, there's a bit of conflict, but it's good getting other opinions. And some people in the office look at us and wow, you guys talk to each other really badly, and we do. We need to work on it. But after we yell at each other, the next minute we just forgotten about it, and we're best mates again. But
sounds like us.
That sounds bloody familiar.
It's very familiar.
Mate,
Sorry, I was just gonna. You're right, because we're the same. We're totally different people. It's our sense of humour that binds us, right? Which is great. Ed's great at organising and all this sort of stuff, and I like to be creative. And,
Dan's off on the fairies all the time,
and speak from the heart and all that sort of stuff, which is good for the mental health side of things. But without either one of us, it would fall over. So what would you say your strengths? So you're a bit more of a people person.
Yeah, I'm like the people person, managing
extrovert.
managing people, and the creator. And Andrew would be the book smart, and he reins things in and keeps everything ticking along in the right direction, in the right order, and contains me.
I think it's important for, because there's plenty of people out there. There's never been a better time to start a business or have a crack at anything. But it's important for people to remember that, in a business partnership, it's awesome to have someone there to bounce everything off, but you don't have to be the same person. And if you are, it's probably not going to reach its potential, right?
No, it's like 2 is better than 1, isn't it?
Bloody oath.
I really want to know when you took the big step, when you took the big leap from doing sort of renos to like your first major, big build that was like, a bit of a breakthrough moment.
Out of your comfort zone stuff.
Was there that moment?
For sure. We had like a little bit of a step into doing our own development where we bought a really rundown house in Indooroopilly. It was quite small and it was quite cheap, but we had a little bit of a test run on that, and it sold and it went well. There was some sort of income there, which was great. And I think the next step was probably the most daunting one, where we bought a hoarder's house in Paddington. I remember saying to Andrew, I was on a cruise boat at the time, and I was like, "Don't buy it; it's too expensive. I don't want to do it." And I came back and I bought it, and it was so
that you
expensive.
bought it with both of your money?
Yeah. and it was so expensive at the time, and I was just like, "Wow, what have you done?" And I think building this thing the whole time, we were just like, "Oh, we don't know if we've made the right decision."
The whole way through the build?
Whole way through, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was.
That would have been some tense days.
Yeah, it was reasonably stressful.
So was that a knockover in a new build, was it?
No,
or
we
a
couldn't
big
knock it
reno?
over because
Yeah,
I was
right.
in a character area
Oh,
pre-46, so
Yeah.
it was.
That's another
literally-
kettle of fish.
So we couldn't knock it over, and we had to just like remove everything out of it, and it stunk so bad. Thankfully, once you actually removed everything, the smell just disappeared. But there was many days there where I'm like, we're not going to get rid of this smell. But it ended up selling really well, and that's basically that sort of capital snowballed us to purchase other properties. I think we bought the next door house off the neighbour that we got friendly with, and
Really?
yeah, that was another one that went really well.
The Prince of Indooroopilly too?
Nah, this one's in Paddington.
Oh, is it right?
Mate, that's awesome.
Yeah, wow.
So we want to talk about what we don't see, what goes on behind the scenes, the stresses of running, what is now a fairly large scale residential building company. What are the stresses and the daily, troubles that you go through to keep the thing going?
Unfortunately, the problems end with me. So I feel like some days that I'm just a problem solver. So that's the frustrating thing for me. I'm just treading water the whole day, and it's draining. So I'll start work at like 6:30, and I get home nearly every day at about 7, except for Fridays. I might get home at 6. So and then
early, Mark.
Tick.
and then when I'm at home, I'm still sort of organising stuff the next day. So it's just trying to switch off is probably the hardest part, and to know when to time to not work. It becomes normal and easy. You feel more comfortable just working, and that's a trap, I think. So yeah, I'm working on just having a bit more of a balance.
Because it can be difficult, especially, juggling relationships and juggling mateships and everything like that outside of work when you're working those huge hours.
Yeah. So it's just telling yourself to work hard and get there. But then once you got there and you're still in that mentality of working hard, and yes, still work hard, but you've got to have a balance. So it's just knowing when to work really hard and knowing when to, cool your jets a bit. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I jumped over in the office at Nork on there, and I was thinking about jobs, and I remember waking up in the middle of the night a couple times, and all I could see in my head was plans, sets of plans, and thinking, shit.
I have the best ideas when I'm asleep all the time.
Does that happen? Does that happen for you? Do you?
I joke once a week, and I'll lean over and I'll grab my phone and I just write it in my notes. And once I know I've written it down, then I fall back asleep. But if I try and think about it in asleep, I'll just keep thinking about it.
Yeah, wow.
Not ideal.
That happens for me in the shower.
Yeah, shower moments.
Shower thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And so I guess, being a problem solver can bear a lot of weight. So how sort of do you kind of switch off after hours, or do you you're married, right?
I'm married. Yep.
So do you go home and talk about work with your misso?
The funny thing is, my wife's actually a psychologist.
Perfect.
So,
wow.
So I didn't know much about mental health or any of that sort of stuff before I started dating her. So we've been together for 7 years, married for 4. But in saying that, I try not to. I don't like her therapy voice, so I try not.
Can you do it?
I know how you feel. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me too. No, that's not quite it.
That's perfect.
But no, she is really helpful. No, she definitely does it in a subtle way but she's a huge help to me and helps guide me and I run all my decisions past her and she's a huge asset and yeah, a lot of credit to her, to be honest.
Yeah, it's incredible. Did you so you do sort of look after your mental health, like that is actually something that you work on now?
For sure. Like we don't talk about it and we don't kind of stage it as in like my wife's been we don't plan in a session or anything like that. But
7:30 tonight we'll be on the couch talking about this. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's an ongoing thing that it's just the way you should just live day to day is it should just be something you're dealing with every day and not something that you do, once a week or once a fortnight.
I think that's an important message, maintaining, because again, it's like everyone's got physical health, everyone's got mental health, and it's sort of we've got to make sure that we're continually looking after ourselves. Otherwise, you can quickly burn out and
always checking yourself.
Yeah,
I really do think as well, like among many industries, there's lots of stresses in many industries, but particularly building, for some reason, builders are stuck between so many different people. Not stuck, you put yourself in that position, but you've got clients, you've got
a lot of
designers, architects,
you're the middleman,
workers. You are that pivot point.
Yeah, and all your money's on the line because you have to pay your money up front, and that pressure, along with the things you mentioned, is just a recipe for disaster, to be honest.
Yeah, and then outside of that, you got weather, which can come along and ruin
stuff everything up as well.
So have you sort of had any times where you've just been like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this?
Plenty of times, but I've had plenty of times where you also look back and you go, this is the best feeling in the world, and that to me outweighs those negative days. So that's how I get through it. And when I do have those bad days, I have a few ways of dealing with it, and I like to write down what went wrong, how it went wrong, and how could I possibly avoid that next time. And I'm all about procedures and change and growth, so I'll implement that somewhere in the business to try and allow for that not to happen again and try and avoid or have less of those days, because it's always going to happen, but it's just have less of it. And and that makes me feel better about it, and it does improve. And you look back over a year and you look at all the things that all the procedures that you've put in place to avoid these things, and you might not notice it week to week, but if you look back over a year and then years and years, and I write this all down, I still have access to all of it, and you see the growth, and you're like, wow, and that's what helps me continue to do it, because I just know how it works.
Awesome. So you're talking about procedures. What does it look like for you guys on a daily basis when you've got 20 odd chippies? Is it roughly?
Yeah.
How do what sort of procedures do you put in place so that there is, it's all transparent across the board and everyone knows what's going on? And
well, a huge part of building, I think, is communication. And if everyone's on the same page, there's so many different people coming in and out of your job, and making sure everyone knows what's happening, anything that's changed, what order to do things in, so the next person can come in. It's all about communication, and we have a few procedures in place that is game changer with regards to that, which eliminates the actual conversation itself. We have joint diaries that we all have access. Our apprentices know what's happening on every job, every part of the day. If they just need to check on their phone. We have all our documentation and plans all on Dropbox. Everyone has access to that on their phone, and we have things like WhatsApp groups and stuff like that, where we can have an open line of communication where it's not just a phone call or a text one-on-one. It's like in a group setting. So some of our apprentices help remind our foreman what that change was, or
that's awesome.
What that client said. So it's just utilising everyone that's there to be involved without slowing down the process. If you can find tools that can do that, that's what you need to build homes and to build good homes.
I guess that allows, if you've got from your foreman, leading hands, chippies, apprentices, who all have access to the same information, I guess it allows even those apprentices to show a bit of initiative, and
that's it. I'd say to the apprentice,
and be up to speed with it all.
So you don't have to look at this, but if the more you look at this, the better chippy you're going to be, and the quicker you'll be a foreman, and then your doors are open. You can then be the best foreman in the world. You can be a builder. You can do this. You have the balls in your court. But if you're just going to be lazy and not look at this and not show any initiative, that's fine. But you're just going to coast along like everyone else.
Yeah. And you'd just be a chippy.
Yeah, and I think everyone at Grey has that personality where they're striving to be the best. So I think that personality trait goes throughout the business. So some of our apprentices, I'm not joking, but they're some fourth years now could run a job. They're not. Because of obviously respect for clients and things like that. It's just not, it's not right, but some of them could, and as early as 1 or 2 years out of their time, can run a multi-million-dollar house if they've trained for 4 years prior.
That's a credit to you.
I guess if you're nurturing those young blokes, or have you got any female apprentices, any female tradies?
Not yet.
Yeah, right. Well, they're coming in from left, right, and centre, so it's probably not going to be too long. But I guess if you're fostering those skills from an early age, and they're going to develop into leaders for you, it's just going to be an awesome way to expand your business from a very.
You've got a real growth mindset, which is really important. And I suppose one thing that I noticed when I went through my apprenticeship, there was never any sort of team type goal setting, or when he did a job, there wasn't ever a time when we looked back and said, "Oh, what could have been done better," or this was done really well, or there was never any of that. Is that something that you guys do?
Yeah, for sure. Like that's massive. So I have a note in my phone and our foreman group that we chat about things that we need to improve on, things to talk about at the next meeting, and we have a monthly breakfast. Sometimes those breakfasts in winter and stuff, when it's too dark, we turn that to Friday beers. But whatever the monthly setting is, we catch up as a group. We tell them what's happening. We tell them what jobs are coming up. We tell them what problems the other jobs have had, and we discuss crucial issues or changes in the business. The company WhatsApp group will also tell people briefly some issues we're having if it's quick and it's easy to deliver. But if it's something we really need to implement a change, for sure we have to deliver that across the board, because what problem you're going to have on one job is going to be the exact same problem you're going to have on the next job. And if the people that didn't have the problem can learn from seeing someone else have the problem, then it just avoids it, and it's just better all around.
Mate, for sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
I am pretty interested to talk about some of your jobs in particular.
Yep.
I've just seen some awesome videos. I mean, the stuff you guys produce, the videos you produce, top shelf. That Laurent?
Yep. Shout out X-Media.
X-Media? Yeah. Now that very technologically advanced house, that one, yeah?
Yep.
And
run us through some of the features.
Showing off by Michaela Wayne, I believe, if I remember the video right.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. Who?
Yeah, is that right?
Run us through some of the stuff that this house had in it. It's pretty cool.
Hey, it started off basically from intercom. You'd ring the doorbell and it would ring to your phone. You could be anywhere in the world. You could answer it. You can talk to the person at your door. You can see them and not answer it if you want. You can unlatch the gate. You can unlatch the door. You're obviously watching them the whole time. You could go inside. You could you have security cameras. You could watch who's walking around your house at any point. Obviously, alarm systems. You could order an Uber from your phone or from your control pad in the house. You could obviously change your aircon. You can turn your music on via voice. You can turn your lights on via voice.
What happens in a blackout?
Mate, there's battery backup.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Awesome. I thought that was going to be a bit of a curveball. You've answered that a few times, have you?
Yep.
And then, so I guess following on from that, you've worked for some really well-known people, a lot of sports people. We've just had Aaron McNaught, an example, move into the neighbourhood, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
Tell us what that's like working for some of these people, or selling houses to some of these well-known stars.
I think it first started off as I said earlier, there's only a few spots a year to build client work, and trying to find the best clients for the job. And I think the first one being Darius and Kayla Boyd. When Darius first contacted me, obviously it stood out because I was like, hell yeah, I want to build your house. The design hadn't happened yet. I want to be involved. I love the design part of a house, and holding their hand or just giving them some type of advice along that process builds trust and respect.
Yep.
By the time you're giving them a quote or a price, they've already decided they want to work with you. Yes, your number has to be right or they won't work with you, but starting there is basically how that happened, and that snowballed into a few other clients that I had, friends of friends, or how it worked out, to now, selling some homes to people that have some, whatever you call them. And I guess it comes down to a brand now, and it's attracting that sort of person.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's bloody awesome.
Yeah, because Stephen Moore, you've done
Quaid.
Quaid.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And I mean, that's just following on that goodwill of the business and that brand name that people aspire to have now. I suppose I want to live in a greyer built house.
Yeah, the idea behind it is trying to that would make the house worth more. So and I believe it's done that.
Yeah.
Do you get you're never going to be settled, right? Like where you are now, like you've achieved so much.
Yeah.
But is it enough or it's not enough?
That's the problem. Never know. No, definitely not.
Or do you want to keep challenging yourself, keep
Yeah.
putting yourself out there? It's always, because you've got so much momentum now. It's like the world's your oyster.
Sure, but you obviously don't want to be trapped in that striving after the wind kind of thing as well. So you got to remind yourself, keep pushing, but also know when enough's enough, and where to sit in that comfort zone, or where you master. There's no point in right now. We've got a multi-res site coming up and a tower we need to build, and that's been something I've been looking forward to since I was like young. So
you've never done anything like that before?
Never. So we're going to be jumping into that in the new year, but we are in a niche market now where some people are saying, well, why are you doing that, Rob?
Don't leave.
Why would you give away some sort of the position you have there? And I'm not giving that away at all, but I want to try new things. It excites me.
No, that's awesome. So one of the things that we often hear, it's tradies will come up and they're like, oh, I've got an idea, but I'm just a dumb tradie, or I can't do that because I'm just a dumb tradie. What do you got to say to anyone out there that has that mentality?
Hey, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I didn't even go for OP. I think I just played rugby the last 2 years of school, and I went to about 1 in 3 classes. And it's just, you don't need to be smart. You just have to have a good social brain and good forward thinking, and that's all you really need to be successful in business, I think. So don't underestimate yourself just on book smarts. Doesn't really matter, to be honest.
Yeah. I think that's an important message, and just getting that work ethic. And I think that's a major thing that trades-based people have compared to university
100%.
graduates, is they've got that work ethic, and they can get out of bed at 5 o'clock, and they can drive an hour to work, and they can hook in for 8 to 10 hours, and it's just a day's work.
Yeah, like you can be a good tradie and earn more than the people that have gone to uni for 5 years and have got an OP 10 or less.
Yeah.
So we're in a good country to do so. So have a crack and back yourself.
I just want to know about when an apprentice comes on and starts working for Greyer. When I did my apprenticeship, I was lucky because I had Dan there to sort of learn off.
Ooh, he doesn't often
I
say
don't often
nice
say
things
that.
about me.
That's on recording as well, damn it.
Was he getting good?
Mate, Woody from Toy Story over here. Bloody hell.
But
he just annoyed me to the point that I had to give him
teach
the
me.
answer.
You had to teach me.
That's the way you got to ask, don't you?
Yeah.
But how do you make sure that when that apprentice comes through with, like, starts off with Greyer, that you're making sure that they are actually learning? Like a lot is on that apprentice themselves to ask for, to learn. But how do you ensure that when they come out, they are knowledgeable enough and, like you were saying, to run a multi-million-dollar job?
It's evolved over the years, to be honest. So when we were a smaller company, I would be firsthand there teaching them. Then it went to I would then help get the senior chippies to teach them, and I was a lot more hands-on. And now, because we're a bigger company, I more give them the tools of what they need to do to learn these things. And I have apprentice catch-ups where I bring them all into the office. We sit them all in the boardroom, and I give them, when they start, I give them a book, and it basically, so I say, write everything you learn in this book. And they just had this book, and none of them do it. But every year I pester them to do it. And some of them start doing bits and pieces, but you're learning so much information. It's so hard to retain it. And I just say, write it all down. And I get in that room, and then they all read out what they've written in the book. And then the other one goes, oh, I didn't write that down. I didn't learn that. And then they write that down. And then I encourage them. I'm like, if you're that squeaky wheel or the annoying guy always asking what, and you're being tactful of how you do that without being too annoying, you're the one that's going to get taught. So when someone's coming to me and saying, "Oh, I'm not gelling with this crew. Can I move crews?" I'm like, "You can move crews, but it's also comes down to you. You need to gel with them as well. It's a team unit. The more you work in, and the more you're bouncing off and helping your foreman. If you're running and getting their lunchbox, or when you're going to get something out of your trailer and you're getting a tool for them or something like that, when you're working hard to help them. They'll work hard to help you. So I try and help them understand that and encourage them. That's how they learn. And then in the back end, I'm also saying to the foreman, train them, do this, do that, do that. So being the company size we are, it's a bit harder for me to personally do it, but that's the way I try to do it.
Yeah, mate, it's awesome. And I think it's a really important thing because, like we know, it's really hard to retain staff. A lot of people go through, do their apprenticeship, try and help the bloke that put them through for a year or 2 years, and then they sort of march off. So how important is it for you to retain your staff and then build them into a project manager or something like that down the track?
I make them agree from day one, if I put them on, that they're going to stay for minimum 2 years after. That's not contractually bound or anything like that, but I do make them put it on paper as a
in that book.
No, separate.
Yeah, separate book.
But yeah, like retaining those guys is like the backbone of your company. They know how it works. They know your procedures, and they're the ones that your eyes and ears when you have new staff. They're the ones that tell you who's not abiding by the rules, and burning through staff or employees is only detrimental to yourself.
Yeah.
So, having to retrain someone just because you've got a short temper and you want to just boot someone out because they've made a mistake, like it's so easy to do that, but it just affects you. So retaining those guys and keeping them long term is the key.
Yeah, most definitely.
And it's a major investment as well, isn't it? Into your business. You're not just putting it's not cheap. It's not just a simple thing to chuck an apprentice on. You know what I mean? It takes a lot to put into them.
And you invest a lot into them, obviously.
Yeah, you do. And our crew's so young. When people like look at our team and they're like, there's probably only maybe 4 guys over like 35, I reckon.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all young. So it's a young man's game, and you can be young to build detailed houses.
Yeah, yeah.
How long were you, maybe still be the case, learning on the fly? How long? For how long are you bluffing? Like
Making it
sort
till
of.
you make it.
Yeah,
To be honest, I swear it's like
you
still happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're always learning, aren't you?
always learning. If someone says, "Oh, I know everything in the game," you're like, they're full of crap. Like,
Yeah.
like it's the worst trait to have. Like you learn stuff every day, and the whole like fake it before you make it saying, like there was definitely like a lot of early like bluffing or just winging it for like years. Like
Educated
Yeah,
guesses
we can
and
do
all
that.
sort
Turn
of
around.
stuff.
Can we do that?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, yeah. And then you like call mate and you go, is this possible? How do you do this? But everyone does that too. Yeah,
That's an important lesson though there as well. Like you've obviously got a lot of people around you who you can bounce ideas off and ask questions, right? And that's one of the biggest things as well, because no one has ever done anything on their own.
Oh, for sure. Like the biggest advice I give anyone, and it's just everyone gives this advice, so it's nothing revolutionary, but surrounding yourself with people who have done the goals you're trying to achieve or understand it, because that's the best way of doing it. Is you can bounce off them. They've lived it. They know the problems, and they can tell you how to solve them and get past it quite easily.
That's a good point. Who do you look up to? Have you got people in the industry that you look up to?
Yeah, I got heaps of mentors like through the industry. They're all sort of kind of do different things, but I like a bit of each one. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, well, I think an interesting thing out of that is, like Anthony Kuhlman said the other day, like success leaves clues, and a lot of builders get these big egos and are like, oh, like you said before, I know everything in the trade, like I don't need to learn anything. But what keeps standing out in this conversation is that how big of the growth mindset is with Greyer, and it's a credit to you, because obviously you're always going to be moving forward with that sort of outlook.
Yep.
And wanting to not just stay the same, like you're always wanting to get better, which is, mate, it's awesome. And it's so hard to find especially the residential game in Brisbane, I've found.
Who knows, mate? I'll probably have kids next year and take a backward step.
Did you see this happening? Like, was this the vision? Did you see it being right here where you maybe not in the TradeMutt podcast room, but like
made it.
Yeah, that's blue velvet.
No, this is the vision to the T.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome.
It's weird. Saw it years ago. Just this is what I always
visualized it.
Yep.
So that's listen to guys like Conor McGregor, right? He just visualised being the champ,
Sure.
And it manifests.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Until he wasn't.
Yeah,
wow. Exactly. Retired twice.
No, you can never keep on top of that game, so good on him.
No, you can't, can you? What's in the future for Greyer, and have you got an end goal? Like, have you got a
big, hairy, audacious
North
goal?
Star?
I like the idea of high rises, that's for sure. Detailed multi-res projects is sort of where I want to go eventually, even though I love detailed homes. So that might not happen. It might stick to homes. I don't know. Like, as I said, next year I'm going to trial that and see how it goes. But I think instead of having an end goal, it's more of an end plan. Is we just want to build standout landmark buildings in Brisbane. So
wow.
As long as they're different, unique, I don't need to build 100 of them a year. I'm happy to build 1 or 2, but I just want them to be like unique, stand out, and put everything into them, and then just always evolving and doing new things, because that's what excites me.
What would you say to any third year, fourth year apprentices out there that are like, I want to be the next Rob Gray? What would you say to them? What should they go and do?
I would say don't concentrate too much on being the best chippy in the world. Just concentrate on the process of building, and don't just try and master that. like try and understand marketing, understand development, design. You need to be good at multiple fields to succeed quickly, I think. So yeah, just try and study all of those people that are doing that well and how they do it, opposed to just concentrating on being the best person to build a house frame or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I was reading recently, I think I saw it on LinkedIn, your brother might have been commenting on an article about character homes in Brisbane,
Yep.
particularly in that Paddington area.
Yep.
You guys do a really good job of keeping, that character facade,
Yep.
and, transforming it into something contemporary and very bloody cool. How are you all about that Brisbane character sort of look, or obviously looking at Darius's house, that big black behemoth?
Yeah.
It
was pretty funny when they I think it was Channel 9 or something called me and was like, hey, we want you to do be on the news to talk about like this new plan for retaining character in Paddington. Can you have some houses we can stand out the front of and you can do an interview? And I was like, you sure I'm the right guy you want to have this interview?
Yeah.
And like we do retain some stuff, but in other breaths we've done the most architectural, crazy homes in character suburbs that people hate. And leave like 1-star Google reviews saying ugliest house in the suburb.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, as much as I do enjoy a character home, I enjoy doing things that are different. So
they are a bitch to get right. Like they are, like those old Queensland. They're
yeah. I think just if I just did that every house, it'd just be boring. So I just like to
spend your life straightening.
I like to do different things. So,
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. A good reno is awesome, and we've done plenty of them. We've got plenty coming up, and I do love them, especially in character areas.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That was a great chat,
mate. It's been really good. I
really appreciate that. It was awesome.
Business with you boys,
mate. Yeah, we just
I've got to get Gray decked out in some shirts.
We've gone from
black and a bit of colour.
We've gone from building houses to folding shirts. It's awesome. It's just it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing what happens when you put yourself out there and have a crack and have a crack at something that you believe in.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably also an important message as well. Like we believe in this, to no end, and I guess you believe in what you're doing as well, right? And
I can tell with you boys, like just coming in here, I've never met you guys face to face before. I've seen you online and all that, but it's when you meet people in person, it's sometimes a little bit different. But yeah, you guys are oozing your love for what you do, and mate, you guys bouncing off each other. It's actually pretty funny.
We're oozing.
Mate, it's unreal.
Well, mate, and back at you. Yeah, it's really cool, and
it's great to finally meet you too.
It's awesome to see. There's heaps happening in Brisbane at the moment. I think it's, well, I mean, I don't know.
It's a place to be.
I don't know about any other states, but yeah, construction, there's heaps happening. In our space, we've been through social enterprise incubators and startup programs, and there's people out there having a crack at doing some really awesome stuff. And I think there's never been a better time to try your hand and put yourself out there and have a crack at a business and have a crack. It's just awesome time. The time is now. It's ripe.
Exactly.
Well, make sure everyone jumps on Instagram, checks out Graya, just Graya.
Or just take a drive through Paddington and just put your windows down and observe.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time today, Rob. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, boys.
Good on you, mate.